What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today.
Big shout out to Tim Flint for asking me a question, and it was such a good question. I was like, hey, I'm going to reserve this for a video. So, Tim Flint asks, of the three favorites who lost, who do you think is in the most trouble and the least amount of trouble? Now, at the time of him posing this question, this was before we got the results of the Golden State Warriors Minnesota Timberwolves game. So, after the victory by the Warriors, that would now make it four favorites who lost in the first game of their round 2 series. All four teams that were favored to win the series and expected to win that game lost. Even more so because the Cavaliers and Pacers series started earlier, because both teams wrapped up their first round series very quickly. Now the Indiana Pacers are up 2-0 on the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the crazy thing is, it's not that they lost, it's how they lost, which is even more mind-boggling. There's like an interesting narrative, an interesting story that goes along with each of those losses, right? With the Nuggets game, the Thunder were up 3 with not so much time left on the clock, and the coach decides to incorporate this horrible strategy of fouling the Denver Nuggets immediately when they inbound the ball, and the Nuggets don't even have any timeouts, and trying to play the free throw game, and kept leaving the door open for his young team to make a mistake and miss their free throws. And then we all know what happened. The Denver Nuggets hit a 3 basically to win the game off 2 missed free throws from Chet, when he has the best defensive team in the league. You have the best defensive team in the league for a reason. You let them play defense and force the Nuggets to make a difficult 3 to try to force overtime. Crazy strategy. And then you got the Indiana Pacers series, where the Pacers are now up 2-0, but more specifically, in Game 2, Donovan Mitchell dropped 48 points. The Cavaliers are up with not much time left on the clock by 2 points. Halliburton misses a free throw, gets his own rebound, dribbles the ball out to the three-point line, does a step-back 3, Pacers up with like 1 second left. Then you got the Boston Celtics game, where the Boston Celtics decide they want to shoot or attempt 60 three-pointers and only connect on 15 of them. 45 missed 3-point field goals, only to lose to the New York Knicks by 3 points. And then you get to the Golden State game. Steph Curry gets injured with a strained hamstring early in the game, does not return. Most of the game is played without Steph Curry. And the Timberwolves still can't beat the Golden State Warriors. No Steph Curry on their home floor. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy. I put out a post. I said, if you would have told me that the Golden State Warriors would lose Steph Curry for the majority of the game, and the Golden State Warriors would go on to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves without Steph Curry, coming off a grueling 7-game series against the Houston Rockets, on Minnesota's home floor, I would have said, you're shitting me. So, to retool your question now in the wake of the events that happened recently after you put out the post of the 4 favorites who lost, who do I think is in the most trouble? We'll start there. I definitely don't think it's the Boston Celtics. I think the Boston Celtics had a terrible game, and they only lost by 3 points. They still could have won that game. I just think the Boston Celtics are that much better than the New York Knicks, and I would expect that they've learned their lesson from now. And if they end up having a historically bad 3-point shooting game again, or it tends to be trending that way, they would get smart and find ways to get easier shots closer to the basket, I would have to imagine. But with that being said, it was a historical game, not a historical good game, a historical bad game. That also tells me that the probability of that happening again in the short term is probably unlikely. Not giving them an excuse, but I'm just saying. The Boston Celtics are that much better than the New York Knicks, in my opinion, and I don't think they're in any trouble at all. In fact, I think the Boston Celtics could go down 0-2, and I still wouldn't be worried about the Celtics losing the series. As for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I picked the Golden State Warriors to win the series anyway. With that being said, I don't think they're in the most trouble, especially with Steph Curry being injured. I don't know how long this is going to put him out. We'll see what the results of the MRI says, but I would expect at least a couple days with a hamstring strain. So we'll see. But the Warriors losing Steph Curry, even though they won the first game, I don't know if they'll be able to maintain that same level of play without Curry should this go on for a couple games. But we'll see. But still, I don't think they're in the most amount of trouble. They could easily bounce back. I could see the Timberwolves at least winning a game on Golden State's home court. I don't think that'd be an issue for them. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, they should have won that game. Poor execution, bad coaching, and shout out to the Nuggets for being the veteran team that they are and saying, hey, we're just going to get it done at the end of the day. We're going to get physical with you, and we're going to execute down the stretch. And if you make mistakes, we'll make you pay for it. That's exactly what they did. But the Oklahoma City Thunder, definitely not in the most amount of trouble. Yeah, they're a young team, but they're also a hell of a team. They're a deep team. And I would expect them to bounce back in the next game for sure. And they're good enough to win in Denver. Just like Denver's good enough to win in OKC. But that series is going 7. So, with that being said, obviously, I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are in the most trouble now. And the Indiana Pacers are up 2-0 going back to Indiana for the next 2 games. They're looking to sweep in their hometown. And they have all the confidence in the world now. And you have to imagine that maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers are starting to have a little bit of doubt. Granted, they haven't had Garland for both games. And Mobley and Hunter didn't play in game 2 either. And they were up big on the Indiana Pacers, and the Pacers stormed back. But that's so typical in the league nowadays. Teams always come back, especially in this fast-paced three-point shooting game, blah, 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 blah. And if they don't get Garland, Mobley, and Hunter back, they are in a world of trouble going into Indiana. And by the way, I saw Mobley's ankle sprain. That wasn't much of an ankle sprain. I'm sorry. I've dealt with a lot of ankle sprains. And I can tell you, I've dealt with ones that look way worse than that. And I taped it up and I tightened it up and I got right back on the floor. That little ankle tweak he got and he didn't come back and he didn't play the next game. A little tweak like that. Did you see that? That wasn't no severe sprain. I'm like, dude, you are soft. You are soft. I'm sorry. I've had way worse ankle sprains. That was nothing at all. I bet his ankle isn't even swollen. Let me see that ankle, Mobley. Let me see that ankle. That don't look like anything. I can't believe you missed the second game. The Cleveland Cavaliers are in hot water now. Are they? Can I see them winning the next 2 games? Sure, it's possible. But it ain't looking good for them. It definitely is not. Can you imagine how loud that Indiana Pacers arena is going to be? Knowing that they can sweep the number 1 seed in the East on their home floor in their arena? Oh, that energy is going to be crazy. Crazy. And you know Halliburton on a mission with all that overrated talk. And these guys know their role in Indiana, and they just play their role, and they play as a team, and they trust their leader in Halliburton. And they got a guy named Pascal Siakam that has a championship pedigree, knows what it takes to win. A lot of people don't talk about him. Super underrated. Pascal's a beast now. Pascal's a beast. He ain't some role player with a championship. He's a fringe all-star with a championship. This isn't Kyle Kuzma championship pedigree. Championship pedigree. Listen, Donovan Mitchell better drop 55 next game, especially if Garland ain't back. They are going to need everything from Donovan Mitchell. It's going to be interesting. And as far as who is in the least amount of trouble, that is definitely the Boston Celtics. They are just that much better than the New York Knicks. I cannot see any way the New York Knicks are beating the Boston Celtics in this series. I cannot see it. I can't. I know we got some people on the channel that ride with the Knicks. And I love Jalen Brunson. I just can't see them beating the Boston Celtics. Man, I look at the New York Knicks like it's the Knicks. It's just not happening. It's the Knicks. What do you expect? It's the Knicks. When they lose the series, it's like, what do you expect? It's the Knicks. Like, the Knicks are like the NBA Dallas Cowboys. Like, it's the Cowboys. I mean, what do you think was going to happen? The Boston Celtics are, and when I look at what happened in Game 1, you missed 45 three-pointers. Do you know how many empty points that is? Even if you connect on just half of them, how many empty points that is, and you still could have won the game. You lost by 3. I cannot see the Knicks. I can't. If the Boston Celtics were to lose to this Knicks team, this might be the most monumental choke job, one of the most monumental choke jobs in NBA playoff history. That's how much I think the Boston Celtics outclass this Knicks team. They have no business losing to the Knicks. So I think they are in the least amount of trouble. Like I said, they could go down 0-2, and I still have all the confidence in the world they can rip off the next 4 out of 5 games. I ain't worried about the Knicks. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Y'all sound off in the comment section. I would love to hear your opinions to Tim Flint's question. Who do you think of the 4 favorites to win the series? Who's in the most amount of trouble? Who's in the least amount of trouble? Sound off in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified. Catch you on the next one. We out, baby.